first Division III player to throw for over 5,000 yards in a season. Winning the Gagliardi Trophy got him on a lot of people's radar. But you come into the NFL as an undrafted free agent. Nobody guarantees you anything. Joe Callahan certainly knows that better than most, as his road in the NFL so far has been a long and traveled one. Birth name, Francis Joseph Callahan. I don't know that he wants me to say that on the radio, but I will, as Joe Callahan is the wears number 6 proudly for the Green Bay Packers. Francis Joseph Callahan. Wasn't sure if you wanted me to say that on the radio or not, Joe, but the cat's out of the bag. Welcome to the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you for having me, and I'm okay with Francis Joseph being revealed.
I figured the secret might already be out there, certainly around him seeking, but now all the radio audience knows that. So, hey, let's go through this a little bit. First and foremost, we thank you for taking a couple minutes with us. We know how busy your schedule is. When do you guys, let's see, your preseason game is against the Redskins on the weekend, right?
Yeah, this Saturday we play the Redskins.
Okay, but you're deep in meetings and all things like that go along with training camp and practices and stuff. I was reading on Packers.com a little more details about the circuitous route that you took last season when you were a Packer, but then all of a sudden you were a Saint, but then all of a sudden you were a Brown, and now you're back in Green Bay again. Maybe tell our listeners a little bit about that path that you took and what you learned along the way.
Yeah, last year turned into a pretty crazy one, from making the Packers roster and then, a few guys going down for us. And I was kind of the odd man out as the number 3 quarterback. They let me go. The Saints immediately claimed me, and I was on the next flight out to New Orleans. Same thing happened there. I was there for, just under 2 weeks, and I felt pretty good about my situation there, but they had a bunch of guys go down and practice that week, and I was kind of that odd man out again. Then after they let me go, the Browns immediately claimed me, and I was on the next flight to Cleveland. My stay there was about 8 weeks, I think. We had 5 quarterbacks there, so I didn't get an opportunity to really do much of anything because reps are so limited in season, and the writing was kind of on the wall from the first day I got there, since they had 5 quarterbacks on the active roster, and there really wasn't much for me to do other than take notes in meetings and try and prepare myself if any of the other 4 guys were to go down. And then they let me go. I guess just kind of a numbers thing. Not too many teams keep that many quarterbacks on the roster. But once I got released from there, I signed right back with the Packers, was on the practice squad for a week, and then called back up to the active roster where I finished out the year. And here I am in year 2 back in Green Bay.
Got to be comfortable for you to be back in a system. I mean, the quarterbacks, though, that you got to learn from, and, of course, there's 2 of them that we may see one day in Canton, Ohio, one of them on your current squad, one of them still in New Orleans. Talk about those 2 guys being able to learn from Aaron Rodgers one week and then Drew Brees the next.
You can't really ask for too much too much more as a young quarterback to learn from 2 Hall of Fame guys like that, 2 guys you grew up watching, and just to get to see how they go week to week and prepare for every game, and their mindsets going into each week, and how they prepare for different defenses, and just their overall knowledge of the game. Anytime they said something in a meeting, I was taking notes, trying to learn as much as I possibly could from them. And now that I'm back in Green Bay, I'm just doing the same thing with Aaron again.
About the roster is currently constructed. What are they telling you this year in Green Bay? I'm sure they don't tell you much other than be prepared, show up. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, the clear-cut number 1, but Brett Hundley on most depth charts listed as 2, yourself, and then Taysom Hill. So 4 quarterbacks on the roster currently.
Yeah, I think Aaron definitely has that number 1 spot locked up right now.
Breaking news, this just in.
But, yeah, exactly. But, I take, I make sure every day I'm preparing myself the best that I can to, be successful on the field. I'm working hard. Every rep is being watched, and it's a nonstop competition. We have 4 guys on the roster right now, and everybody's out there competing. Like I said, every rep's valuable, and I'm just trying to make sure that I make the most of it.
Your story is an interesting one because in high school, the team that you were on didn't throw the football a lot, right? And then by the time you got to your 5th year at Wesley, you go out and throw for over 5,000 yards. It's an interesting progression, isn't it? Can you talk first and foremost about those high school teams you were on and what you were asked to do versus maybe your last year at college where you kind of got on most people's radar?
Yeah, high school, I barely threw the ball at all. I was lucky if I got to throw it 10 times a game, but part of that was due to just having such a good high school team. I was out of the game most of the time by the second half. We had a pretty big offensive line in high school, a good defense, and 2 of the top running backs in the state. So, I was kind of the second thought on that team, and you really couldn't complain. We went undefeated my senior year, won a state championship. So my role was a little bit different in high school. I was just kind of turning around, handing it off to those 2 backs. And then once I got to college, we were a little bit more of a passer-friendly team. That was part of the reason why I chose Wesley, because I wasn't recruited too heavily out of high school. And I picked a school where I knew we were going to get to throw the ball around the field a little bit more than I did in high school, and a school that just seemed like a good fit for me.
Hey, Joe, this is Josh. I want to ask you to talk about the audience, help them understand. You went to Wesley. It's not a big school, but you still got to the NFL. And I think sometimes people assume, well, if you don't go to a big school or you don't go through the traditional draft process, that you can't make it to the NFL. Well, there's been plenty of guys. Tony Romo was undrafted. Kurt Warner was undrafted. Talk about the process for you coming from such a small school, a school that some people didn't know exists till you went there, to end up being with the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't know about Wesley until I went there either, until they came into Holy Spirit and recruited me. That was the first time I ever heard of the Wesley College. But, the odds were definitely against me to get an opportunity, let alone make the team. I trained. I felt like there might have been a small chance that maybe an NFL team would give me a look, maybe a Canadian team. I wanted to try and keep playing football as long as I could, and it was kind of a weird situation how I even got an opportunity to work out for the Packers a little bit. I had a pro day at University of Delaware that the Packers weren't at, and the night before Monmouth University's pro day, around like 10:30, 11 o'clock, a scout from the Packers called me and asked if I was willing to come out and throw at their pro day. And, from a couple other guys, I knew Monmouth had closed their day to any outside athletes, which I'd let the scout know. And he was like, yeah, just, come anyway. Maybe we'll get an opportunity. Maybe if I'm there and I kind of vouch for you, they'll let you participate, which they didn't. I had to sit through their 4-hour pro day, and they allowed me 15 minutes on the field after if I wanted to throw for the Packer scout. And I said, yeah, of course. So I sat around all day, waited, and got my 15-minute little 15-minute window to try and get as many throws in as I could. I think I threw the ball 3 times to warm up and told the scout I was ready to go. And I guess that was enough for them to see to give me a shot.
Pete mentioned earlier, Joe, that you've been in the quarterback room with Aaron Rodgers, with Drew Brees, 2 of the best in the game. Talk about what makes those guys unique from your perspective. Because a lot of people, they say, well, they see him on the field. We see them talk to reporters. People say they see him at practice. But you've been in the quarterback room. What makes those guys who they are and so unique?
Well, outside of just their talent, they're both 2 of the best throwers to ever play. But just their mental approach to the game, the way they watch film, their overall knowledge of both the offense and defensive side of the ball. It's something that definitely takes time to get to that level, but it's really amazing to see how they just approach their film study and then practice every day. Like I said, it's nonstop competition. If we're just doing throwing drills or, footwork, we're taking everything as serious as you possibly can, and we're keeping score. We have a little running competition. It's Aaron and Taysom versus me and Brett every day in just about every single drill that we do. And, that just kind of gives you an idea of how competitive Aaron is, and Drew is the same exact way when I was down in New Orleans.
Well, we'll end with this, Joe Callahan, quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. You certainly know that there's a lot of South Jersey people out here pulling for you, but what would you tell them that's probably been the most eye-opening experience for you, or what anecdote would you pass along as like, whoa, like you tried to play it cool, but inside you just couldn't believe that was happening to you?
I would probably say the first day I was in the facility and Aaron came into the meeting room and just kind of told us about, what he did that weekend. It kind of dawned on me that I'm in the same QB room with Aaron Rodgers right now, one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch throughout high school and college. And then after that meeting was over, I walked out of the meeting room and turned around a corner down the one hallway and bumped into Julius Peppers. And I think he might have been the biggest person I've ever seen in my entire life at 6'8", 280. And I kind of got bumped back a little bit, and he didn't move. And that was kind of a little eye-opening that this is one of the guys that I'm going to have to go against eventually. So when that happened, I was happy that they give us the red jerseys at practice and we can't be touched, because that would be a little scary if I had to go against Julius every single day. So that first day was probably just, the one little, or the little shock factor. And then after that, I settled in and felt pretty comfortable.
And we hope you're there for a long, long time. He's Joe Callahan. He's a quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. And we hope, Joe, that this year is a little less traveled for you than last year with all the stops that you made. We certainly have our fingers crossed for you, and I know a lot of our audience out here, and then a lot of locals too. They're all listening to you here, buddy, and we are all pulling for you, okay?
Well, thank you.